He holds the Xenoxis show for the 2nd of August 2025. And we're doing some more Gran Turismo stuff. And yeah, and I've been playing a bit more of Gran Turismo as well. I've also gone back to playing Soul Raven and stuff there because yeah, you know, because I felt like, so I've almost done all of the stuff in the touring car, like the 800 one. Where is it? It's further down. It's this one. It's the 800 one. I got third place on that one, but that's because I didn't have all the tires needed, because you need to start with wets. And then basically I changed into racing hards the last time, and that kind of made me lose the race and stuff there because of that. So yeah, I got a fourth place on this also as well for some reason. I forgot why, but yeah, let's do the first one though. We change the car, of course, obviously. So it's just the only requirement is that it's 800 or less in points, basically. So you can theoretically use this one as well, because this counts as a GR3 car, but it's a GT 300 car. But let me use the one that I like using here. But we need to start with the racing heavyweights, right? And then just go into settings. I have that set on the highest, yeah. No, that's set on 330. I don't know if that is really what I should be having on it. But yeah, so we're starting with heavy wets. Because it should rain in the very beginning, but it only dries up like later on and stuff that, so you consume your tires very fast. Let's have traction control on 2 instead, because it's raining a lot. So yeah, we set it to. I don't know if I need to set it to super speed or whatever, so we can get more, because sometimes, when you do a fuel stop, or when you do a pit stop rather, the fuel that it shows is not the correct value and stuff like that, but yeah. I always like when the Corvette is available, by the way, and a lot of the GR3 cars you can just put a big red in and stuff like that, or like a Super Cycle, this one on a turbo and certain other cars. Generally speaking, a lot of the AI drivers are not very good in the rain at all, and I've always been good in rain. I feel like, regardless if it's an F1 game or another car game or whatever, I generally rain. I tend to be better in rain for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. Stuff like that, But yeah, and I also think that there's so much improvement they could do to this game. For example, like with the whole braking zones, right? I thought that the whole point of the braking zones is to actually make you brake optimally. But of course, it would be like a lot of probably pro players would complain if it would be easier for people to get better, but I feel like that wouldn't also be true and stuff that, like, the people who are good at the game should want like more players to get good at it. And I feel like, right, if they change the braking area to be more about, okay, like, what is the conditions on the track? What is your fuel saving? Are you using the lean or are you using full power? What type of handling is it on the car and stuff like that, and how much like speed do you drop in the car, like everything, like what type of brakes are you using, are you changing the brake balance of the car, right? And all of these things should actually affect the thing, but yeah. Generally speaking, when you're using the whole linear thing, like, do I have the turbo in this? Or the supercharger or whatever that gives me a lot of horsepower in this Corvette. A Corvette is technically not its own brand, it's still part of Chevrolet, if I remember correctly. Chevrolet Corvette and stuff like that, but yeah. But a lot of people almost consider Corvette to be its own brand, because Corvettes have a special like sigil symbol for them and stuff that, that the other Chevrolet cars do not have and stuff that, so yeah, I've always been a fan of Corvettes, by the way. You see, like, because they tend to always be good in the Gran Turismo games and stuff that, like, like the different C cars have been good in previous ones, and you could build them to almost be like the R3 cars even in all the Gran Turismo games. stuff that, and generally speaking, they were a way to often like win like those when you just go around in a circle on those high-speed tracks. There is just a circle basically. You could win those, even the endurance race versions. You could win with just a correct car and stuff that, and then like earn a lot of credits that way. And even if you didn't do the endurance one, you could do like lower versions of the same like race and stuff that. I believe in one of them it was a race for like turbo sports cars or whatever that you did with one of the quests that could earn you a lot of cash, and you could basically farm that until you could purchase a car that was good enough for the endurance version of the race and stuff like that. Because there should always exist an endurance race, in my opinion, that's just round and round in a circle, like no braking or whatever needed. Most cars, and stuff like that, where you can use overgear it by just using the correct type of cars and stuff like that. Because they're gearing you way too much of a braking zone there and stuff that you don't need to brake that early actually. Yeah. Generally speaking though, for some reason the AI drivers here they are consuming way more fuel than me, so I'm guessing they're used running with default. But the question is, are they running default engines or are they running with the faster engines on their cars, and stuff? That is the question. So yeah, so one thing that I thought about, and this is a bit of a conundrum, so they should either make it so that Gran Turismo 8 comes whenever the PS6 come out, so we can have a release Gran Turismo, because that was something they did with Gran Turismo 3, and you might say, oh, but it wasn't exactly at the release of the console, sure. But I feel like when the console came out in the PAL region at least, that Gran Turismo 3 was a release game, because when I got the PS2, I had a Gran Turismo 3 for it. I didn't have a memory card at first, because the memory card, for some reason, there was some sort of issue with them getting like the memory cards delivered and stuff that, so I had to buy like a memory card like the next day or like in a few days or whatever, right? So I couldn't save progress in any game really, stuff that, which was a bit, annoying. Because keep in mind, right, that a lot of people might consider Gran Turismo 4 to be the best Gran Turismo 5 or whatever, but I like Gran Turismo 5 a lot, but I feel like generally speaking, right, like Gran Turismo 3, you have to remember, like, there was a show back then on television, some sort of show that even was sent here in Sweden. There was a UK like gaming show or whatever, I believe, that actually got sent on television, which was very, very weird to actually see an actual proper gaming show. And they had like, I think in the end, what I believe it was literally up to the people that they could vote, basically, like, okay, like, what is the best game or whatever on the PS2 right now. And Gran Turismo 3 remained in the top spot for an insanely long time before it got because I forgot what game it was that passed it or whatever, but on that show it was basically number one for like an insanely long time. And I do remember it actually sold extremely well apparently in the UK and stuff that, so like that was strange at all and stuff that. Like the jump, if you take the jump from Gran Turismo 2 into Gran Turismo 3, that was absolutely insane, by the way. Like the whole jump in the graphical fidelity and stuff like that, felt like. Because of course with Gran Turismo it's so easy because you can see on the cars themselves, you can see the environments and stuff that, you can see the effects and everything and stuff that. And the whole rally felt like the fact that in the intro thing for Gran Turismo 3, like they definitely showed you some of the rally stuff, and I believe you can even see the Scudo in the intro as well, but not on our rally tag specifically, but like getting to see the Scudo, it just immediately meant that, oh shit, the Scudo is in this, I would definitely want to get this car, like, if you know how good the Scudo was in Gran Turismo 2 and stuff that, immediately like okay, like that's something that is very smart, that they should always be in the actual intro for the game. You should always have like a car that is like really good, like they should really show off like certain icons so that people are like, okay, like that's an icon from the actual, I definitely think that the intro thing for a game should be the trailer for a lot of Gran Turismo games, just because it often showcases some of the cars and stuff like that. But there should also be an updated version of the intro that they did, which they actually did for Gran Turismo 7, if I remember correctly. Because there were certain cars in the intro now that weren't available back then, basically, and stuff like that. Because I forgot how many cars this had upon release. Because here's a problem also that, for example, I would want this game to get to 1,000 cars at least, you know, and stuff like that. Now, what is it currently? Is it 533 cars? Is it 540 or something like that? I mean, if they keep adding 3 cars per month, but that's not also true because there was a month when they skipped, for example, cars and stuff like that. I'm sure it hasn't always been 3 cars per month. It has actually been more than that sometimes and stuff like that. But also, the old people who use the whole argument that, oh, yeah, it's not free or whatever, you know, and stuff like that. Then imagine if you had to pay for it. Yeah, but if for example, the DLC cars were like paid DLC, for example, then I feel like you could get way more than just 3 cars and stuff like that, because they could probably be like, okay, like let's give you actually 6 cars instead, because now you're paying for it and stuff like that, you know. That's what I feel like would happen. Like the people who think that, oh, imagine how bad it would be if you would have to pay for these cars. Yeah, but then it wouldn't just be 3 cars if you had to pay, because then they could be like, okay, now we can hire extra workers or whatever, right? And stuff like that, and now we can make it go faster. And I would almost say that if AI can get good enough, then I would almost feel like, yeah, have AI work on some of the cars or whatever, right? Because I would be fine with certain cars that were of lower quality or whatever, because yeah. And you should actually be in the dark area here in order to make the tires last longer, instead of driving in the lighter area, stuff like that, because this is not dried up here like the whole dark thing. But you can see also that if you see that it reflects the surface like that, that means that it's still wet and stuff like that, so yeah. See, they're painting already there because they are running out of soup. Running out of soup. But yeah, so you should be able to use like wets basically like all the time. And I feel like this area here, the whole darkening area here, is because it's actually drying up. So it's this other area that is not drying up or whatever, but yeah. I want the wets to try and last for as long as possible, of course. And it might just be that car that I was using before for this, I didn't show what car that was, for example, because it was not that one. It was a Mercedes, or it was an on-gate car, or whatever. It was the McLaren that was in the used car dealership. Because that one, you can make it kind of like a GT3 car, or whatever, right? Because it can get like really, really quick, but it has like some negatives about it. But I don't have the most expensive like weight reduction on that car, because that car can actually get the most expensive weight reduction, which is 500,000 credits, which is absolutely insane. One thing that is weird about the whole weight reduction thing is that you can never see it on the car. And stuff that, like, you would imagine, right, that okay, like if you go for the maximum weight reduction, you wouldn't see other seats in it, or seats in the back or whatever, right? Like, you should be able to visually tell, you know, and stuff that, you know, sometimes, you know. But I also feel like, right, that most cars, unless the car is naturally aspirated, but even if a car is NA, right, naturally aspirated, there was something that you could get in the older Gran Turismo games that were for NA cars that could still give them a lot of horsepower. And I forgot what it was called. It was called something, but yeah. But it was turbo engine and superchargers also in the older games and stuff like that. But why not have it so that every car can get all the weight reductions, you know, and stuff like that? Like, why not have it so that most cars can get like the Ultra RPM turbocharger? If it has a turbo engine, it should be able to get the Ultra turbocharger, or if it has a supercharger, it should be able to get the highest end of the supercharger engine and stuff like that, you know. And even though you might say that that's not realistic, that should still be a thing, right, and stuff like that, you know. Because it just feels like why didn't have ultimate upgrades? For certain cars, it hardly does anything and stuff like that, you know. You know. So yeah, you can see now the tires are getting worn out very, very quickly here. But it seems like definitely the front tires are getting worn out more quickly, so maybe set that to rear there. Brake balance set it all for the rear there. Let's try and make them last a bit longer. Now I kind of wish that there could be some sort of like when you're setting up the car, there could be some sort of simulation or some sort of thing that you could test drive the car with certain settings on the track that you're currently doing instead of just racing on the track. You should be able to like do a test, like a test lap or whatever, right? Basically, you should be able to do 2 laps basically, like one of course because the first lap, the time on that is gonna matter as much and stuff like that. So you can see like, and you would be able to simulate the tire wear. So you would be able to test like, okay, like how much tire wear are we actually getting and stuff like that, you know. And then it would instead take the condition from later on the stage, so you can actually see the actual tire wear. You should be able to get one more lap here. Yeah, because it's 1.0 there. So we can get one more lap. And I think the laps that are left now, we should be able to make it in the wets and stuff like that, because yeah, the other cars were using up the tires way more and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that is because, of course, because the GRT cars are already optimized and stuff like that. That's the thing, right? That if you get a car that isn't a GRT car, those aren't as well optimized and stuff like that. So the Mercedes is not as optimized as this car is, for example. But yeah. And you're meant to use, but one thing that I figured out, of course, was that yes, you can use the Pagani Sonda in some of these races as well. But generally speaking, sometimes the Pagani Sonda is actually slower than using the other cars. But I'm guessing that it's because the Pagani Sonda is using way more fuel and stuff like that. Yeah. I forgot if it was more expensive Pagani Sonda I got or if it was the cheaper one that I ended up getting and stuff like that. Because yeah, I know that it's two Pagani Sondas in the game. Yeah, remember how cool the Pagani Sonda was when it came out? I wonder if people even remember stuff there, because the Pagani Sonda wasn't in the Gran Turismo game at first. I think it was in another game before Gran Turismo, whatever, right? Was that in a Project Gotham Racing where it showed up the first time? I forgot. I know it wasn't in Forza, whatever, right? Like that's not the first time it showed up. I think it was in one of the Project Gotham Racing games actually. But I also know that it wasn't one of the Gran Turismos. I don't think it was in Gran Turismo 3. Or was it already in 3 or even in 2 maybe? So then we go in here. We need to brake here. And you can actually go over that count that's braking, like the line or whatever. Then we go and put on wets again. And then you don't need to refuel that much here. But often I don't trust that they show there, because that is not often correct at all, for whatever reason. Because it should be exactly what is needed for 2 laps here that you should need. I'm taking up to that step. Yeah, no problem. Now it's very, very dry and stuff that, but you should be able to last at least 2 laps with the wets here. Still that's it. Yeah, and I also think the whole thing, right, that I've talked about before, that you know, that like belonging to a certain specific brand or whatever in certain categories, you know, because that's how you get to choose sometimes. That you can choose to lend a specific car and drive, for example, like in the Manufacturer Cup, drive with a specific car and stuff that, you know, and stuff that, so, you know. You know, I kind of wish also that they made it so that you could earn actual like driving gear and stuff that for a specific brand. So you could earn like a specific like Chevrolet or Corvette suit or whatever, right? And you could earn a specific like Ferrari one or a specific like Nissan one. Nissan one that I'm using is, of course, is supposed to be the Calsonic thing that specifically was used for that Nissan, the whole what was called R32 or something like that, the car, you know, the car that I talked about. Because that car, you can basically make it so that you can use that car in the 800 PP section and stuff that is something you can do. Stuff that, yeah. yeah, fine on that. Been good. I don't have the fastest time with this though, which is actually pretty funny and stuff that, but yeah. So I'm guessing they put on intermediates then, that's why they can have so much faster and stuff that. Like I could have switched to intermediates instead. But the intermediates doesn't last very long at all. Like the intermediates are almost like worse sometimes than the wets and stuff that, because yeah. But for example, if you using racing odds, and if you even touch the whole dark area, then you're gonna spin. Like even if you set the traction control to the highest and stuff that, which is like really really bad and stuff that. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, nothing gets as more like there are so many cars missing from like all the games and stuff that, and it just feels like like because I think that Gran Turismo is supposed to be a celebration of cars. That's what Gran Turismo has always been about. Like, imagine the amount of people that got interested in cars because of Gran Turismo, or even like like you could be like, oh man, I want to get that car in real life or whatever, right? Because they see that this car is really cool. And of course, there are certain cars that are very cool in this, but they're all very unrealistic for you to get in real life. Like, who's going to be able to get a Bugatti Veyron or Chiron or whatever, right? Or Chiron, you know. Can I fly, man? I tried to let it out before when it was near the window and stuff there, but the flies are stupid, of course. They think that you're always out of the like smacking them or whatever, because yeah. Anyways, victory. It's so weird sometimes that you can use a car that's technically better than the Gear 3 car, but still. And also there was one track where I managed to get the clean racing bonus even though I went into other grounds. For example, why was that not a clean racing bonus? I don't think I went over any single line there. Ooh, 6-star roulette ticket engine. Ooh, that was a very good driving bonus. Or for driving a certain distance. But I definitely think you should be able to earn like a scaling bonus or whatever, right? So if it's a 6-star, for example, engine ticket, then the next one would be a 6-star like money ticket or whatever, right? Or something like that. So engine, so this means that all of these are good engine swaps here. Come on, be for car I have, please. Please be for car. Rough CTR3, ooh, yay! Okay, I do have a rough CTR3 actually. But it doesn't even show up the rough here, which is weird. I do have the rough though. But that's its default engine, isn't it? Yeah, so why did it say that? Why is it wanting to put that in my car that I already have? Like, what the heck kind of scam is that? Like, what could I put a rough engine in? Does that mean that I can put it in a Porsche then? Is that what they're trying to get at? I'm gonna go through a few cars here and check actually. Because, yeah, it would make sense if it would be putting in a Porsche or whatever. There's my way around, there's Corvette. I know I have some older Porsches somewhere. Where is the Porsche? Reset and I have awesome. Yeah, there's 1, 9, 11, 83. Oh, that one is not compatible. Is there a way I can select manufacturer? Yeah, I can do this. I forgot that you can actually do this. It's so much faster. But I kind of wish that it used to remember what your latest settings were. There's Porsche. It's 9 cars. Like, why couldn't it remember that I had selected that? Like, if you're in the thing for several times, so we tested that one, I checked this one. It would make sense if that engine would be for Porsche. On that car type category. Manufacturer. That one is compatible. With the 95 model. I get back the Porsche engine then that I used. But because that would make sense, right, if you give you back the engine. Actually, this might turn out being even more powerful than. Let's see here. How powerful can we make this car? Okay, we can get that. 711 horsepower. Horses! Yeah, carbon on horse brakes. Polish ports. Oh shit, it's Polish. Polish is like, haha, now you're representing Poland. That's not how things work. Replacing silencer, exhaust manifold, replacing car brake pads. You don't get these because these orders brake balance controller, coasting wise, suspension, racing class flywheel, racing hearts, fully customizable. Okay, and high RPM turbocharger. Yo. Alright, we don't even have enough credits to get everything. So we can get this. We can get this. Will be quite make it quicker. This will make it quicker. And we are having the weight reduction sauce up to stage 3 at least. We can get because there was no stage 4. The first one. Yeah, you cannot get the bore off, sadly, or the high camshaft or the high compression piston. That's a bit boring. Right, and that's a second weight reduction. Doesn't that end up being stronger than the actual? Isn't that then already stronger than the CTR2 or the CTR3 rather? I know that one in Gran Turismo 2 or in Gran Turismo 3 was referred to as the Yellow Bird. Yeah, that is actually more PP than the CTR, right? Because the CTR is actually further down. But that has more horsepower. So how is that more? That 873 out of 1216. That is 698. But that is an RR engine and that's AMR. So why is... I mean, that line looks more closer to the Yellow Bird. Maybe that was the whole point. To make this look like the Yellow Bird. So this should probably be able to be at least 340, at least, in my opinion. But so 365 is the maximum. Yeah. Well, 385 here. Yeah, this one could probably win against the other cars there in the 800 category, you know, and stuff that. There's the C7 there from 2014. And it's cool also there were like cars that they've introduced back. So if you go into Car Cafe, for example, like certain cars you can get special like things talked about. That's C7 Fiat GT3. You can see there also the date on when you got the things. There you have the extra menus. And there's a lot of extra menus here that I haven't finished yet. I haven't been trying to focus on some of them or whatever, right? How to get to race cars. My problem with all of these is of course they are each 800,000 or something like that, I believe it is. So that's just branch and lost too. Because there are certain ones where the reward isn't that good. I only got share on there, and that's an engine ticket. That's a McLaren, yeah, that's up on the leg. I should really try and get that McLaren if possible. Ford GT, okay, that's a big car on sale currently. Or is it? Did I not pay attention or have they changed the link cards? Okay, it's that one, yeah. So that will be 6.7 million though, which is a lot to spend right now. So how much? Okay, only 33 minutes, that's not bad. Let's go back to the 800 here. So we only had this one left now that I got 4th place in. Let's do the Porsche one then if possible. I don't know how the Porsche one will do though. The question is it very balanced or do I need to... Let's see if I can leave it on traction control 1 and see how much fuel it actually consumes. Put that on delay. Its brakes are generally pretty good, but I feel like the thing that's often the problem if you put in a lot of horsepower into a Porsche. There's the thing, right? The thing that makes sense, right, is that rough is already like kind of that's like the ones that quote unquote they tune the Porsches. But generally speaking, the tuned Porsches often have very specific things on it. I think I need to restart here. Let's actually put this on 3 maybe on the TCS there. I don't know technically if I need to set it on lead 6 or if that is too much to set it on or whatever, right? And sometimes you have to also think about that sometimes on the gearbox you don't need to set it as high as I did, because sometimes that can severely affect the acceleration a lot, and stuff like that. Because instead, one thing that I would have liked to see, one thing that I would like to see, for example, is maybe have some so let's put it on power 1 here and see, actually. Yeah, the thing that often makes you lose this deck is first off, right, that if they get any sort of distance here in the beginning, then it's going to take a long time to actually catch them or whatever, which is actually really, really bad. Yeah. And right, then it's possible with certain cars, of course, to just catch them or whatever, right? Just set the TCS into instead. Let's start with power 1 at the start so we don't lose too much here in the beginning. But I often feel a lot of times with certain cars, if you put in like bigger engine, like you need to adjust so many settings on it, right? And I kind of wish that they had some sort of function in the game to literally be like you could play a certain amount of credits and then have it get like professionally tuned or whatever, right? And you could choose to have it tuned by a certain player basically, and then it would basically tune the thing like how that person would tune it or whatever, right? Yeah, like the drives that are really good at the game and stuff like that, I definitely think this is meant to look more like the actual yellow bird and stuff like that, because I believe in Gran Turismo 2, it was the CTR, it was CTR 2, I think it was. And I think because it wasn't CTR 3 yet, basically. Yeah, we're not gonna do with this car. This car is pretty bad. I mean, you would probably have to either make the brakes stronger somehow on it, which I don't know really how that would work. We could try with the Sonda again, actually. Right, so racing hard. So that's the high RPM. Otherwise, it's 737. That would still be good, I feel like. Full customizable racing, 330. Yeah, I don't think I need to change it up to the 370. I think that's good enough, actually. And yeah, I have that set on maximum. Okay, good. Just have that be regular there instead. So we don't use as much fuel. And I wouldn't say that is like comparable to an LMP car or whatever, right? So that is now let's see how less fuel this consumes now. The Pagani Sonda was very cool as like a hypercar or whatever you want to call it, right? Stuff like because yeah, this track is so funny. This track is like really annoying if you want to try and drive perfect on it and stuff like that, because it's like very because you want to brake late a lot of times in order to catch the other drivers quicker, but yeah, it's like there's a lot of it's very easy certain places to use lose a lot of time and stuff like that, because yeah. And this is one of the places where you can really lose a lot. If you brake too late there, you're gonna go off. And not only are you gonna lose a bit of time, or quite a lot of time, you can lose like several positions. Like you can lose, like it's very easy that you can lose 5 or 6 positions or whatever. And then often they will get a big enough distance so that it will take maybe 1 or 2 laps to catch up. And if you're in a slower car, then like you just forget about it. You don't forget it, you know. I like the song, I've always liked it, but this color is a bit weird on it, you know, and that because generally the first song that came out, which was I forgot, it was Begone song that said something, stuff that, and that was more silver or like titanium skin color basically, if I remember correctly. Maybe used a metal color, you know, whatever, right? Because it's crazy, like the default engine is actually pretty fuel efficient in this, you know, stuff that, you know. And I feel like for a lot of cars, like if they're really expensive, it often feels like you need to feel like the car is good enough. Because I feel like on electric cars, why couldn't they have their own like style of upgrades and stuff that like for example on for example an extreme upgrade for an electric vehicle could be like ultra capacity like battery, because from my understanding is that the battery is also what gives them more like horsepower. So if you could have like a very high capacity battery, you could also receive more like power from it or whatever, like ultra capacity battery or something like that. And then it could be like this type of battery, and you get more horsepower, and also you get a more fuel efficient like engine or whatever, or you get so that you can get like further and stuff that before you need to recharge or whatever, right? You know, stuff that, you know what I'm saying? Because it feels like dumb, like why have electric vehicles in the game whenever there's fuel consumption, unless there's very low fuel consumption on a race. Like if there's any sort of regular fuel consumption on a race, then it just feels like the electric vehicles become worthless, and that just feels extremely stupid and stuff that like. But of course, imagine, right, if they would try to, for example, do a race, like would you have to put fuel consumption at the lowest to? Because I mean, yes, if you have 1,000 horsepower, 1,200 or whatever in an electric car, actually it's gonna be fast, but it's just, you know, it's running out of use so quickly, you know, and stuff like that. The thing is, I don't mind fuel consumption at all, right? Fuel consumption is often fun and stuff like that, but you know, that's. Attila needed to pit really early there. He didn't have bad fuel, it's just that he used up his tires already. This is the Sonda R, by the way. That's what it's called. Because I noticed the logo there on it. Sonda is actually pretty interesting, of course, with their cars and stuff like that, because they're an alternative to Ferrari, and a lot of their cars is much more like they look like an LMP car, but they're not an LMP car. I mean, technically, right? I don't know technically if against LMP car or whatever, because yeah, it just feels like that is just something that should be a thing, like a Sonda LMP car, because their cars are already very much LMP-like, you know, and stuff like that. Just to stay alive. One thing that I would also say, for example, when it comes to cars that are specifically only in the Legend dealership, that why not make it so that those cars that you could pay a certain sum and then switch the rotation whenever you want, if there's a specific car you're looking for. I think it's not prohibited. You can often take the car that's currently span and stuff that, like if the yellow flag comes up, you're not going to get punished, right? If you drive past the car that calls the yellow flag and stuff that, you know, because, you know, I'm so goodness, please. Yeah, it's gonna take a long time on this track to like pass everyone and stuff that, but you know, Persona is very, very good used to it. Like if you think about it, this is more like the default setting on it. I forgot how many upgrades I gotten on it and stuff there, because there are certain cars that for the price you already get a bunch of the really, really good stuff for the car, so you don't need to get any like weight reduction. They want to do down weight reduction on the car and stuff that is as standard basically and stuff that's it. But isn't it funny, right? Because can you technically say that racing hards and racing mediums and soft are like a real thing that you actually like, oh hey, I want to buy some racing hard tires for my car or whatever, right? You know. And there's the Ferrari, the Italia one, right? Yeah. And the Italia GT3. Coca-Cola is driving that concept car again. For the Isn't that a Nissan then? Because Coca-Cola tends to drive Japanese cars, so that's the thing that's actually pretty good in the game, that they made it so that certain drivers theoretically like to drive certain cars and stuff. That is definitely a thing in the game. Allah. It's Mazda thing. It's driving currently. There's the BMW Sprint. You can tell the difference between the endurance one. They look slightly different. Or exhibition, yeah, that's what it's called. It's actually a pretty cool design, actually. But like, there are certain of the concept and certain of the vision cars that actually looks pretty damn cool. And I really want to get that Porsche wheel that's specifically for a certain vision car or whatever. But I feel like, wouldn't it have been so cool if that specific steering wheel could have had like a code for the game that you could like input or whatever in the PlayStation Store or something like that? And it would or it would work in the game somehow, and it would actually give you set car and stuff that like in game and stuff that maybe give you a certain amount of credits or whatever, or maybe a specific livery even. Because imagine that, right? Like, you know. And it feels so weird. Like I like the roulette tickets in this, for example, but when compared to the old games, like the fact that a lot of the like endurance races, specifically in Gran Turismo 2 and 3 and stuff, that had it so that you would get something similar to a roulette ticket after you won the race and stuff that. There were several cars that you can earn, but they were all like blacked out or whatever, right? But then it should be basically like once you have earned one of the cars, they should no longer be blacked out and stuff that, because that creates more excitement on know what car is it, you know, stuff that. Certain cars are of course very obvious, it's tail right on the silhouette, right? Like, oh, that's good and stuff. Is it common that they do some little pit stops, or am I like, you know, am I driving too careful, you know, and stuff that, you know, it's the queen, it's a thing in the bathroom, in the bathroom, no, I don't want to win it. He's driving the Honda, the NSX Castrol livery on it. I don't think it's the default livery on it or whatever. Whatever it is actually. Because that's funny that the AI can actually use liveries that are not the default and stuff that, you know. You have to hope that they are pitting soon or whatever the drivers that are currently in front here. Yeah, it's crazy how much less it's consuming in fuel when you don't have the turbocharger on this and stuff that. I mean, you're still getting like 739 horsepower or whatever in the car and stuff that, you know. And I don't know why they're so much further ahead and stuff that if something happened. Because I feel like it wasn't that I'm driving slow or anything, you know. It might be that they actually did get the faster engine because sometimes during certain races they are given like faster engines, whatever. Because I feel generally Fraga tends to do a pit stop very, very early on. I feel like, you know, maybe he didn't. The worst thing is that they are using each other there because they're close enough to each other. It looks like that they're using the slipstream of one another, you know, to get distance to other racers. So we can see them now at least. So that there at the bottom. Actually, maybe I could drive fast and stuff that, you know. The worst thing is if they pit now and I need to pit as well and stuff that. So yeah, you know, because I need to change tires as well. Probably could have changed the balance again to be on the back or whatever. But it looks like it's pretty well balanced with how much it's consuming the tires. Sometimes you can definitely be braking too much because the braking zone you cannot use to rely on the braking zone. That's when you need to brake it. Are they doing a pit? No. The fact that they're not pitting is really odd in my opinion. They're so hard. Yeah, it's weird. Is it like that they're running with less fuel consumption? Because I feel like, right, if we ran with less fuel consumption, we could probably not do a single pit stop. Then it would feel weird, like why would they all have the AI has never done this strategy before on this stage. Like usually Fraga would have come in early. There's no way that Fraga is the guy who's gonna win the race. So it's either gonna have to be that he's gonna pit during this lap basically, or the next one basically, on lap 8 or on lap 9 basically. They basically need to be pitting at this point basically and stuff that a lot of them needs to be pitting if we're gonna get good things again, but yeah. It feels so odd because these cars should be so superior to their cars and stuff that, like they shouldn't really have a chance at all. It is not a more difficult race either, you know, and stuff that, like it should still be like, you know, like... Yeah, you can see there's a lot of ones that we can catch back very, very easily and stuff that. Which is why the whole thing that when people are cheating, sometimes they get some sort of bonus from certain things or whatever, because yeah. Let's see, are they pitting? Is someone pitting at least? Hey. Or someone is pitting at least, Bevoy is pitting. So we get one more position, we get number 5 now. Yeah, so they either need to like be pitting now basically on the final like lap or whatever, or like a final lap that you're gonna pit because you're not gonna pit on 10 out of 10. And I can understand, right, that maybe like because sometimes I feel like sometimes it has to do with how many like, you know, because usually I see frog get hit at least twice. Usually, which is why this is so surprising, you know, and stuff like that. Because usually, if I remember correctly, the AI doesn't have access to the power and lean thing or whatever, you know. Because this feels like really old. Also, if for example, like why are they making it hard? Is it just because I'm driving this car? Because that definitely feels like a thing sometimes, that if you're driving certain cars, then all of a sudden they get faster. For whatever reason, like if I would be driving the GT cars, they wouldn't have like this massive distance or whatever, but then they would have already pitted most likely. It looks like one is pitting at least, but I don't. And here he is pitting, finally. And he's not going to need to pit that much actually, it looks like. Okay, it's only one guy pitted. The flag guy pitted. He should be able to take him though here in the third place, at least. Might even be able to take more here actually, just of that. Okay, so he's driving, what is he driving? Is it not smaller? Oh, that's a BM. No, that's a Lexus, okay. I know the Lexus is really good. Like the Lexus is really good in terms of like not using up a lot of fuel or tire wear either. Way. We're catching up to Gallo again. If we can get at least second place, then I'm gonna be happy, you know. But it looks like he's actually driving pretty slow, so it's either that there are actually few returns for like saving here and stuff that. Yeah, I feel like I did brake pretty late there and stuff that, and maybe I could have done that the whole race and stuff that I brake like really late because we're using the Sonda and stuff that. But then again, it feels like so bad if it's like, you know. Because sometimes it feels good that braking zone is so long so that you can brake like later and stuff that, and you not have to worry about like, you know. And it's crazy that we're almost catching them, considering they didn't do a pit at all. I think they might have done a pit earlier, but still, you know, and stuff that, you know. I don't have time right now. Sons. Okay, we go to Manchester House at least. So I'm curious here, can I change camera target? Yeah, let's actually change to, what's it called? Was it? Okay, so he's driving the, that's the Subaru, right?